It was a Wednesday morning like any other, commuters hustling to work, coffee shops buzzing, and the world's routines unfolding as usual. But then, in an instant, the world's digital heartbeat skipped, a silent jolt that rippled across continents. By late morning, websites and apps everywhere froze. It wasn't your Wi-Fi, it was global. From bustling cities to quiet suburbs, screens everywhere went still. The first signs were subtle: error messages, frozen screens, spinning wheels of doom. At first, people tried refreshing, blaming their own connections. But soon, a pattern emerged. Teams everywhere noticed the same thing. The problem was far bigger than any single network. Services we rely on daily, ordering coffee, booking flights, managing work, were suddenly gone. The digital conveniences we take for granted simply vanished. The timing was uncanny, just hours before Microsoft's big quarterly earnings announcement, when the world's eyes were on the tech giant. Office workers lost access to cloud documents, unable to collaborate or retrieve vital files. Productivity ground to a halt. Gamers were locked out of Xbox Live, their virtual worlds suddenly out of reach. Even checking a flight status became impossible, leaving travelers stranded and confused in airports worldwide. This wasn't a local glitch. Reports poured in from every continent, all describing the same digital blackout. The scale was unprecedented. Social media exploded with questions. Was it a cyber attack? A severed cable? Theories and rumors spread as fast as the outage itself. The truth was less dramatic, but just as disruptive. The culprit? Microsoft, the backbone of so much of our digital infrastructure. A critical part of its Azure cloud platform had failed, sending shockwaves through businesses, governments, and individuals alike. When Azure stumbled, it took a huge chunk of the digital world down with it, reminding us how interconnected our systems truly are. Businesses and individuals scrambled for answers, wondering when and if normalcy would return. Tech support lines lit up, but few had real answers. The outage exposed just how much we depend on invisible tech giants to keep our world running. Our daily lives, work, and play all hinge on these unseen systems. For millions, a routine day turned into a frustrating reminder of our digital fragility. Families, workers, and students all felt the impact. The world had never felt so connected and so vulnerable. In a single morning, we were all reminded just how much we rely on the digital threads that bind us together. To truly grasp the scale and impact of the outage, it's important to first understand what Microsoft Azure actually is, and why it matters so much in our digital world. Microsoft Azure is more than just a tech brand or a website. It's the backbone of modern cloud computing for businesses, governments, and even individuals around the globe. Imagine Azure as the Internet's engine room, a vast, global network of high-security data centers, filled with endless rows of servers, all working around the clock to power thousands of companies and services. Instead of building and maintaining their own expensive hardware, businesses of all sizes rent space, storage, and computing power from Microsoft, letting them scale up or down instantly as their needs change. Azure is the world's second-largest cloud provider, just behind Amazon's AWS, and it competes fiercely in a market that's become essential to the global economy. It quietly runs everything from airline booking systems and hospital records to your favorite mobile apps, streaming services, and even the online games you play with friends. Azure's invisible infrastructure supports a massive chunk of our digital economy, keeping businesses, governments, and daily life running smoothly behind the scenes. But it's not just about storage or basic computing. Azure powers artificial intelligence, advanced analytics, cybersecurity, and delivers content to users all over the world in real time. So when Azure fails, it's like a citywide blackout. Except this blackout can ripple across continents, affecting homes, businesses, hospitals, and critical services everywhere. The outage wasn't just one website going down. It was a core piece of the Internet's plumbing collapsing, disrupting the flow of information and services we rely on every day. The domino effect toppled services for countless companies, revealing just how interconnected and centralized our digital world has quietly become. Our daily lives, from smart homes to office work, run on cloud platforms like Azure, until suddenly they don't, and everything grinds to a halt. The outage was a wake-up call, showing just how much is at stake when a single provider falters, and how dependent our world has become on the invisible infrastructure of the cloud. The Azure outage hit everywhere, travel, retail, entertainment, and beyond. It wasn't just a technical hiccup, it was a digital blackout that rippled through daily life, catching millions off guard and exposing just how much we rely on invisible infrastructure. Airlines like Alaska and Hawaiian couldn't process bookings or check-ins, stranding travelers and creating chaos at airports. Starbucks apps stopped working, leaving customers unable to order or pay as usual. For many, travel plans and morning routines were thrown into disarray. Major retailers like Costco and Kroger lost websites and even in-store systems. Shoppers found themselves unable to check out, and some stores had to close their doors entirely, unable to process any transactions. Buying groceries or coffee became a challenge, not just online but in person. Frustrated customers faced long waits, and employees scrambled to explain the situation, as payment systems and apps failed across the board. Gamers were locked out of Xbox Live and Minecraft, unable to play or connect with friends. For many, it was a reminder that even leisure time depends on the cloud. Microsoft's own productivity tools, Outlook, Teams, went dark, halting work for millions. Meetings were missed, emails went unsent, and businesses ground to a halt as communication channels vanished. Financial institutions and nonprofits lost access to critical systems. Bank transactions stalled, donations couldn't be processed, and essential services were left in limbo. Even some internet providers in other countries were affected, leaving homes and businesses disconnected. The outage crossed borders, showing just how global our digital dependencies have become. The outage revealed a single point of failure that rippled across dozens of industries. Like falling dominoes, one system's collapse triggered another, exposing the interconnectedness of our world. When one cloud stumbles, the world feels the shock. News of the outage spread rapidly, as people everywhere realized how much their lives were intertwined with technology they rarely see. The digital backbone we take for granted proved more fragile than anyone imagined. In a world built on connectivity, a single outage can leave millions in the dark, reminding us just how much we depend on the cloud. What caused the chaos? Not a cyber attack, but a simple human error. A Microsoft engineer made a configuration mistake during a routine update. The faulty change hit Azure Front Door, the global traffic cop for Microsoft's cloud. Suddenly, the Internet's address book, DNS, couldn't translate website names to addresses. The result, users everywhere couldn't reach their destinations online. One small change triggered a global cascade, cutting off data centers worldwide. The very efficiency of the cloud created a single point of failure with massive consequences. Centralization brings power, but also risk. One mistake can silence a huge part of our digital lives. The outage was a stark lesson in how fragile our interconnected systems really are. As the outage spread, Microsoft raced to respond. Within an hour, they acknowledged the issue publicly, confirming it was on their end. Engineers scrambled to identify the root cause, quickly tracing it to the Azure Front Door update. The fix rolled back the faulty change across a vast global network. This wasn't instant. Restoring the old configuration to every server took time and precision. Meanwhile, Microsoft's support teams issued updates and suggested workarounds. Every minute offline meant lost revenue and eroded trust. The pressure was immense, a technical and PR crisis unfolding in real time. Restoring the world's digital backbone was a high-stakes race against the clock. Recovery was slow and methodical, not a flip of a switch. By mid-afternoon, some services flickered back to life, but stability was far off. Microsoft's status page tracked the gradual progress as systems came online in waves. By evening, most services were operational, but many ran at reduced capacity. Full recovery took nearly 8 hours, a lifetime for businesses relying on constant connectivity. The outage underscored the complexity of fixing a system as vast as Azure. Microsoft promised a thorough review to prevent future failures. For thousands of companies, the lesson was clear: relying on a single provider is risky. The digital world is powerful, but not invincible. The cost of downtime was measured in lost productivity, sales, and trust. The Azure outage wasn't an isolated event. It echoed a similar AWS failure just a week earlier. Both outages stemmed from internal technical errors, not cyber attacks. Each took down core networking services, rippling across industries and continents. Together, AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud control over 2/3 of the cloud market. When one stumbles, the impact is global. The back-to-back failures sparked urgent conversations about the risks of centralization. Experts warned, when so many rely on a few providers, a single mistake can disrupt the entire digital economy. Microsoft had already suffered another major outage earlier that year. The pattern is clear. Complexity breeds vulnerability. For businesses, the takeaway is simple. Don't put all your digital eggs in one basket. Multi-cloud strategies and backup plans are no longer optional. They're essential. Beyond the technical chaos, the outage had a real human cost. Travelers missed flights, workers lost a day's pay, and small businesses faced financial hits. For many, the outage meant missed opportunities, canceled meetings, and mounting stress. The emotional toll was real: anxiety, frustration, and a sense of helplessness. Our lives are deeply woven into these digital systems. When they fail, it's not just inconvenience, it's disruption to our work, relationships, and peace of mind. The outage reminded us, behind every error message is a person whose day just got harder. The Azure outage was more than a technical failure. It was a wake-up call. The biggest lesson: don't rely on a single provider for critical operations. Multi-cloud and hybrid strategies are now a necessity, not a luxury. The cost of downtime far outweighs the complexity of building resilience. For individuals, it's a reminder of our dependence on a handful of tech giants. The digital world is powerful, but it's built by humans, and humans make mistakes. We need offline backups, patience, and a clear-eyed view of technology's limits. Outages reveal the hidden fragility of our hyper-connected world. The goal isn't to avoid all failures, but to build systems that recover quickly and gracefully. As we build our future in the cloud, resilience and redundancy must be at the core.